What's up, guys? It's Three's a Podcast. We have Matt Pulaski and Evan Rada. I'm the James, and Matt Pulaski will be hosting our topic. What's our topic for today, Matt Pulaski?
Today we're going to talk about it's transgenderism, part 43. And I wanted to... No, I'm just kidding. But there is another part coming, isn't there? Anyway.
I think so. Yeah, at some point.
I'm looking forward to it because I missed the last one. So anyway, no, I wanted to, last week, or the last topic I had was about mental health and social media, and it's kind of hard to stay positive about those things. It can be pretty negative. Mm-hmm. I wanted to loosen it up this week. I realized we pretty much started this podcast from playing video games. Yeah. I think that's fair to say, right? We started off playing video games and then streaming games. Mm-hmm. And then we came up with the idea of doing a podcast while we were playing games. Right. And it's changed over time. It's changed into, kind of a full-blown podcast since then. But I thought it was interesting. That kind of is the origin of Three's a Podcast. And I realized, it's probably video games is something that's worth talking about. I mean, I'm sure I can speak for all three of us saying that like video games have been an important part of our lives in some way or another. And I think most men, probably people our age at least, grew up playing video games. They are just part of American society now, and of course other societies. But so anyway, I wanted to kick back and just talk about video games and kind of make it a more lighthearted, now I sound cheesy. I was going to say uplifting episode, but and maybe we'll get into some more serious topics about gaming. We'll see where it goes. But I wanted to start off by a little nostalgia trip here. I was kind of curious as to what was the first video game you guys played or remember playing. And I think I can start. I'll try to start it off. Okay. I am pretty sure there's two video games that might have been the first video game I'm cognitively aware of playing. Either of them would have had, I can say this, the first console I played, or at least cognitively remember playing, is Super Nintendo. My grandpa had a Super Nintendo in his basement, so all the grandkids could play it. And we didn't have any consoles at home until later, so it was really fun to go to Grandpa's house because you got to go down and play the Super Nintendo, and he had several games, but I probably played Super Mario. It was actually, I don't know if you guys remember this on Super Nintendo. It was called Super Mario All-Stars, and it was a Super Nintendo cartridge that had all the Mario Nintendo games remastered on it.
Right. Oh, okay.
And so the first game I probably played was Super Mario Brothers 3 Super Mario Brothers 2. It was one of those. And so Super Mario Brothers 3 is probably the first game that I ever played, at least that I remember playing. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of nostalgia for that basement, that Nintendo. Yes. And the weird thing is, to this day, I actually have that Nintendo and have that cartridge and all the other games because my grandpa ended up giving it to my brother, and my brother gave it to me.
Really?
So,
okay.
I probably played it, when I must have been 7, 8, 9, something like that. And so all these years later, I actually have the exact Super Nintendo and cartridge that I played my first game on. So,
wow.
Anyway, I don't even know and it was hard for me to actually remember back exactly when it was. I probably played arcade games and things, but as far as home console, that was it, I think. So, what do you got? What do you guys got?
Oh man, do you want to go first, Evan?
See here, the first game I think I played was the original Star Fox on Super Nintendo.
Oh, wow. Man.
We had a family friend who had they had older children, so they had Super Nintendos, PlayStations, that kind of stuff. The first console I owned though was the Sega Genesis. So.
Oh yeah, you had a Genesis. I forgot about that.
Yeah, way back this was already the PlayStation era, but my parents bought a Genesis.
Talking about it.
Yeah, from some neighborhood kids, and I think the first game I played on that was like NBA Jam. So.
Damn.
Oh yeah, NBA Jam. Yeah, I actually remember that. I remember NBA Jam. They made a version of it for Nintendo 64, and that one I was obsessed with. But I never really played the original, even though everyone loves it. I think I own it on the Super Nintendo. But
It was a very entertaining game.
so Star Fox was the first game you played on Super Nintendo, and you said Genesis was the first console you ever had.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not any better at Star Fox than I think that I was when I was like 6. So
Oh wow. Fantastic. Damn.
Ty, what do you think?
Oh, okay. So, when I was young, I would play games at my grandparents' house, and my uncle had it was a 64, and that's the first console I think I remember playing on.
Yeah.
The first console I owned was a Super Nintendo, and I would always play Super Mario on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, uh-huh. And then
So we're all 16-bit kids. It looks like.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, Super Mario, and then I started just getting all the Nintendo games from there. The other console I remember owning, it was one of my first, was the PlayStation.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, I was gonna say as far as the 16-bit stuff, before, because eventually we got a PlayStation and an N64 in my house, but before that, my cousin had a Sega Genesis,
Really?
and the thing was so Mortal Kombat was on Super Nintendo, but it wasn't one of the games my grandpa had. But my cousin had Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis. I think it was actually Mortal Kombat 2 or 3 or something like that. And I watched him play it, and I could not believe. Because, first of all, if you've ever played the original Mortal Kombat games, they did this weird kind of style where they basically took pictures, like they basically animated real life people.
Okay.
It was kind of weird. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but if you look at the original games, it was 16-bit, but it was based off of images of real martial artists in the outfits.
Oh wow.
That's why it looks so weird. Yeah, so they took all these pictures. So that blew my mind as a kid. But not only that, Super Nintendo doesn't have any blood. Like if you played Mortal Kombat on Super Nintendo, there's no blood in it. Nintendo specifically. You know, nowadays you could get M-rated games on Switch and stuff, but back then Nintendo was trying to be family friendly because it, that's Nintendo's gimmick, and it was like, but Sega Genesis didn't give a fuck, and they had Mortal Kombat with blood and all the fatalities the way it's meant to be. So I remember my cousin showing me like, okay, so check it out, and he kept trying to do something, and then the match would finish. He's like, oh no, we got to do it again, and then he finally was able to pull off a fatality.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly which one it was because he showed me several, but you have one where like they're ripping each other's spines out and cutting each other's heads off.
Right.
And my mom would have never allowed me to like play this or whatever, but it was at my cousin's house and they didn't give a shit. So, but I just was blown away. And ever since that, for a long time, I was always like, and he also had like Earthworm Jim, I think.
Really? Okay.
3,
what is
which
that?
Was like another game. Earthworm Jim was a Sega Genesis game, later an N64 game, where you basically play as it's a worm in a space suit with like a laser. But it's a really comical game. Like it's really goofy and zany and cartoony, and that I loved that too. So as a kid, that like I always wanted a Genesis, and I finally got one just a couple years ago. There's still some games I want to catch up on. Like Evan was always telling me about this game, and we played a little bit of it. But Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Oh, okay.
And Evan was always talking about this great Sega Genesis game, The Zombies Ate My Neighbors, where you like shoot zombies.
That sounds interesting. I'm not one for zombie games, but
Really? You don't like zombie games at all?
Not really. No.
No matter the genre, so you just aren't into zombies.
No. It does matter on the genre, yes, but shooting zombies, yeah. That's why I'm okay with playing 7 Days to Die, because it's not the zombies that interest me. It's the crafting that I enjoy. Yes. So I do also enjoy the fact that in that game, it's like every 7 days, so you have to like prepare for something. So that
Yeah.
that gives me
Okay.
some sort of
But
something to do.
you don't get as much. You wouldn't get much satisfaction out of like some kind of first person shooter where you're shooting zombies, like
Nah,
Left 4 Dead or something.
no, not really. The other zombie games that I would say that I might enjoy would be I think it's called Dying Light. So,
Oh, I actually have that. That's a great. That game's actually really fun. Actually, we should all get that because that's a really fun game, and I
yeah,
actually have it. I would love to play that game. Now that you mention it, dang.
yeah.
I wonder if that I should check to see if that's on sale. That's such a good one.
The
And I think now you can get it for like Game of the Year edition for like $20
oh really?
because you can do parkour in that game, like jump around, and it's really fun. Anyway, so first console you owned, you said was a. What was the first console you owned, Evan? Evan was Sega Genesis, and you were what?
So I was the Super Nintendo, I believe. Yeah, because I also owned a PlayStation as well, but I can't exactly remember which one I got first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my first console was N64, and games were always around, so I always knew about them. But when I first had my mind blown in a game was Ocarina of Time on N64.
Really?
And I know that's probably true for a lot of people, but that was my first step into 3D gaming, and it mesmerized me. Like I will never be able to replace the feeling of that game when I was a kid. Like I could not wait to get out of school so I could play Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
It was so great. What was the first? Do you guys remember like the first thing that blew your mind in a video game? Like where I'll give an example. In Ocarina of Time, there's the horse Epona, and there's a scene in the game when you finally get Epona. Which, by the way, this is back before the game spelled everything out for you.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of figure shit out. So you're just I fucked around in that game forever. It probably took me over a year to actually beat the game because this was like it was hard on the internet to find strategy guides and stuff.
Right.
So basically, you either had the strategy guide, you bought the $20 booklet, or you asked your friends. And there's this part though where you beat the guy at Lon Lon Ranch, and you keep beating him, and he goes double or nothing or something, and then finally he's like, okay, if you beat me, I'll let you keep the horse. So you beat him again, and then he goes, okay, you can keep the horse, but I'm not going to let you leave. And he closes the fence.
Oh wow.
And so you're just stuck in the game like, okay, well what the hell am I supposed to do? You try to go up, the guy won't let you leave, you can't like do it, like you can't attack him or anything, and he just mocks you. So I was like, what the hell? And then I was like, I didn't know what to do, and I just was like, just out of what the hell moment, I just ran full blast toward the fence and jump. And what happens is you jump outside of the fence, and it cuts to you jumping into Hyrule Field, which is a separate load area,
right?
And then just plays this epic music. That was one of the first times where I was just blown away because I was like, I just didn't. It was so unconventional. It's like you're not supposed to do that, and I did it. And it was something that I just thought of. It wasn't like the game spelled it out for you.
Right.
So it was like, it really blew my mind. I was like, oh, like I didn't know this was something you could do in video games. But anyway, I don't know if you guys have any moments like that where you were a kid and you were just like, oh shit, like video games aren't what I thought they were.
It wasn't ever like for me something like that. It was. No, I did like being able to do things that the developers like didn't want or whatever. But for me, it was mainly the secrets and in Super Mario. That was
like ducking and then going behind the map.
No. I'm talking about like like getting the keys, the secret keys, and like some of the levels
Oh,
and
the
stuff like
flutes
that.
and stuff.
Yeah. That was probably, one of the neatest things that I found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easter eggs are such a good. There's certain tropes in gaming, and I
Mhm.
love that. I love secrets in games too. Doom. Do you remember like the secrets in Doom?
I wish I played it. I never played Doom.
I've played it more recently, where I really delved into it
Hmm.
a few years back because they released it on Xbox. Not the new Doom, obviously, the old Doom.
Right.
But that game, the thing was, when you're a kid, it pisses you off because
Hmm.
you beat a level,
Yeah.
and then it's like you got 25% of all the secrets.
Hmm.
It's like, what? And then as an adult, I'm not kidding. I played the first level of Doom. You can probably beat the first level in about 5 minutes. I probably played this level for about 45 minutes to an hour,
Oh,
and
okay.
went around the map tapping like tapping on every single wall.
Uh-huh.
Because it's not like Zelda or something. There's a crack in the wall, you can blow it up. It's like it could just look like the rest of the game, and you press A and it'll open up. And I went everywhere, looked all around did everything, and it was still like 97% secrets found. Like I'm like, where the fuck is that 3%? I've been looking for a full decade trying to find that 3% secrets or whatever it is. But anyway,
Oh, wow. Wow.
Evan, did you have any games that blew your mind, or like when you delved into the 3D world of like N64, PlayStation 1, where you were like, oh shit, games can do this? Because it wasn't
Uh,
with the thing in Zelda. Just to clarify, it wasn't that it wasn't a secret thing. You actually have to do this to progress in the game. It was just that I just was so used to 2D platforms and stuff, and so to me it was so unconventional that you could do that. But anyway, go ahead, Evan.
I wouldn't say a game really blew my mind mechanically until I played Oblivion.
Oh yeah, that's a
I mean,
whole. Good.
there were a lot of games that I found kind of expansive and interesting, but Oblivion was the first one that I played that was like, oh wow, like this is very, just because of how intricate it was.
Yeah.
Um, Now, I did, Kingdom Hearts. That's an earlier one. That was one where just story wise and the graphics, the cutscenes, that one kind of blew me away a little bit. But like I said, I have several different games that were just for different reasons. What Star Wars Battlefront, the original, the gameplay
Oh,
in that I thought
yes.
was amazing. So it's
Oh
really
yeah.
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 But as far as a game that just really intricately was just kind of had me at a loss, was probably Oblivion. Because I had never seen a game up till that point that had such an intricate system, and so many different stories, and you're traveling around this universe on your own
Yeah.
time. Of course, I
Yeah.
think
It's
open world games really was what, just in general.
yeah. That was
Because
definitely good.
up until the first time I played Grand Theft Auto, I didn't really have an understanding of open world games because
Mhm.
everything I'd done had been it had all been linear. So I don't know. Maybe Grand Theft Auto would be the first one, but
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you note Oblivion because, see, I'd say when gaming really hit its stride for me would be somewhere. So I have good memories of N64, but I was still pretty young. But when I really hit my stride, probably would have been, preteens era, um, and that would have been around PlayStation 2, and when PlayStation 2 started fading into Xbox 360. So like, I spent like 10 years of my life playing 360. I mean, the console had an incredible lifespan, so I spent a lot of time. The original Xbox blew my mind. I remember Fable, the first Fable.
Mm.
That game really that was another game where I was like, oh, I've never seen a game like that where you made, that was the first game I knew where you made moral choices in the game and it affected your character. And so it was so cool because it's like, oh, I'm going to be evil, and now my character's slowly growing horns. And that was the first time I'd seen like a choice system in a game like that. But I was going to say, Oblivion was interesting because Morrowind was before Oblivion, Elder Scrolls 3, and that was on Xbox. And the thing was, because Xbox and Microsoft, was Microsoft, they ported a lot of PC games onto Xbox, the original Xbox. And there was something about these games that were ported from the PC that were just different. And I could never put my finger on it, but I was like there was a game called Thief, and there's obviously been several sequels and it's things, but I can't remember which one it was. It was the one on the original Xbox, but it was a Thief game. Something about the mechanics in that game just blew my mind. Like, I just couldn't believe it. Just felt different than any other game. It was first person, and it was really intricate, and there was details. But I would agree that Oblivion was the first open world game where, like, obviously there's Grand Theft Auto, and like San Andreas was out around before that, and San Andreas was awesome. Like, that was like the go-to open world game for a long time. But Oblivion, open world game, but it's almost like a different genre. It's such a different thing. It's an RPG, but like, you can go into every building. You can go inside of every single building place. It was like, what? You can talk to every single person, and they have things to say and things to do and tips to give you.
Oh, wow.
Everyone has their own schedule. It's like, so it's like that was shocking. It was like, oh shit, I didn't know we got this far with gaming already.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, the fact that you could just kind of watch people walk about and live their lives, and they all have a routine. And then you go into the Oblivion gates, and you can go into every city, and it's this vast open world with endless quests to do, and you can customize your character completely. And so I definitely agree with, like, Oblivion definitely altered my view of gaming. I was like, oh, gaming can be a lot more than I thought it could be as far as intricacy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
go ahead.
I also, you mentioned a lot to me about games that were introduced to you by your older siblings.
Yeah.
Me being the oldest, I had no one really showing me the ins and outs of gaming, and a lot of the people I was around, pretty much up until I met you, were just ignorant when it came to video games, or they had parents that heavily censored everything.
Yeah.
So there was an entire genre of video games I didn't know about until I was like, I don't know, like 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, Grand Theft Auto. I was like, well, you can just go around murdering people.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a memory in my head of, so my mom went through different areas. Like, sometimes she was more uptight, sometimes she wasn't. It was kind of weird. My brother was really good about getting a hold of M-rated games, but my mom didn't want us to play them. When GTA 4 came out, my brother had turned 17, so I paid my brother to buy the game for me. And we're like, oh, Mom, we're going to go stop at the GameStop, and we bought 2 games. So I bought a game, and then he bought that, and then so it looked, and then that way, if my mom asked, I could show her the game that I bought, which was another game. So I secretly had GTA 4, and GTA 4, I think, went next level as far as open world games like that. But I will never forget, me and Evan, I must have been 13, 14, we must have been around, 13, 14, maybe some 14, 15, something like that. And Evan just in a Cadillac in game, just going down the sidewalk and running people over.
Oh.
While Angels and Airwaves, Everything's Magic is playing in the background. And he's just laughing his ass off because they added the realistic way that the people moved when you hit them with a car.
Yes.
So we were just literally, for like an hour, we were just running people over because it was so satisfying.
Oh man.
For some reason, every time you played Guardian Angel, we wouldn't get knocked off of a motorcycle. That was the weirdest.
Bringing me
That-
back.
Yeah, that was the weirdest metaphysical thing I've ever witnessed. Because you would get knocked off those things constantly. If you played Guardian
Yeah.
Angel, I mean, you're hitting the hoods of
You're talking
cars
about
and
the
driving.
wetsuit apparatus song, "Your Guardian Angel."
Yes. I mean, because we're not. I mean, we're head-on colliding with cars and just riding up the hood, and nothing's happening. So
Wow.
I almost want to test that theory again. But
Oh man. There's a whole other era too. Was the PlayStation, the PlayStation 2.
PlayStation.
Well, actually,
fucking
PlayStation as well. One of the earliest games that affected me a lot was Final Fantasy VII.
Mm.
I'll be honest, I learned to read because of Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy IX, and Legend of Zelda. Like, I literally learned to read from those because I was playing those games like
Really?
Well, okay, maybe I didn't like learn to read. Like, I was probably learning to read, in school and stuff. But I was so young. I think I was, I must have been like 7 or 8 when we got those.
Yeah.
And so, like, I wanted to know what was going on in the game, so it forced me to read it. And I really think so. I ended up having a pretty decent reading level.
Right.
Like, I think when I was in like third. Oh, now I'm going to sound pretentious or something, but it was just something. It was just something my mom brings up a lot, which was when I was like in elementary school. I had like a really high reading level or something.
Really?
Like I had like a high school reading level or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I really can fully attribute that to playing games because I wanted to know what the hell they were talking about in Zelda because I wanted to know what the story was, and I was really interested. So I like forced myself to learn to read, and then really quickly after that, playing Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII dives into really deep shit. So I didn't quite understand what was going on, but as far as like learning words and stuff, I think I really did learn to read from those.
Yeah.
But yeah, Final Fantasy was a huge one on PlayStation. Crash Bandicoot.
Oh my God! Yes. The earliest memory.
Spyro.
Oh, I wish I got to play Spyro. I never did.
Those are PlayStation 1 games I remember pretty fondly. Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 in specific. Those games, I loved those games as well.
I played Tony Hawk on, this is going to sound weird, but I played it on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
Jedi Power Battles.
Oh, yeah.
That was a game which we actually played through that recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
should we talk about what happened?
We could, but yeah, that was I don't know. That was I've never played a game that was like that since that game came out. I think the closest I ever came was when Star Wars Episode 3, the game came out.
Really?
Which was probably the best video game based on a movie I've ever played. But
Star Wars Episode 3?
Yeah. But anyway,
that was a pretty good game. Well, so me and Evan both very fondly, kind of separately, have high nostalgia for Jedi Power Battles. I mean, it introduced me to my favorite prequel, or my favorite Star Wars character basically as far as the prequels, which is Plo Koon, and he's barely in the movies. You basically see him on the Jedi Council a couple times, and then you see him die like an asshole in Episode 3, which I was still disappointed about.
Yeah.
Well, because it's like, okay, at least give him some kind, at least have him like fighting off. Like,
he's in the cartoon, the Clone Wars.
Is he?
Yeah. Not the CGI one, but the Samurai Jack looking one.
Oh yeah. He is. Yeah.
He's It's fucking
yeah.
awesome.
He's great. He was a really well. I just thought it was awesome because he had an orange lightsaber. It's like, what the fuck? They have orange lightsabers. So as a kid, I thought he was so cool, and you could play as him. And again, anyway, so fast forward, full decade. Evan, we're in some like kind of hipster side of town in Missouri, Columbia, Missouri, and we stumble into this vintage shop, and Evan just happens to find Jedi Power Battles for like, what was it, $9 or something?
Oh man.
Yeah, it was closer to like 15, but
yeah, something like that. But still, it was like, oh, okay, hell yeah, and it was in perfect condition. So he picks it up. We end up. Evan lives an hour away from me, so we don't meet up all that often, like every other weekend, every whatever. So for about a month, every weekend, Evan came down and we just binge played Star Wars Power Battles. I don't have a memory card though that works with my PlayStation 1. Actually, we were playing it on PlayStation 2, but anyway, I didn't have a memory card that worked. So we're like, okay, well, we'll just have to play the game without shutting it off. So I'm not kidding. I just left my PlayStation 2 on for like a full month.
Oh.
And Evan we just kept hoping nothing would happen, and it just stayed on and it worked. And I just had it going on a certain channel, so it's like, oh, turn it to the PlayStation 2 input. Evan's over, and we would just play the shit out of that game for like. I mean, it wasn't like we were playing a month straight. It was that he came over every weekend for a month, so it's probably over the course of like 3 or 4 play sessions. We finally leveled our characters up, figured out how to fight all these bosses, got to the final level, Darth Maul. And we kept trying and dying on Darth Maul. Finally, we mastered the level. Like, we knew every tip and trick. We knew exactly where to jump. We knew when to attack. We knew when to block. And we get to the very end of the level. It's when it's literally the final sequence when Obi-Wan is stuck behind the red, doors or whatever.
Yeah.
So in the game, you're playing that. You're like fighting him, and you're waiting through the doors. We get to the very final area to fight him, and the game just freezes.
Oh.
Yeah. And me and Evan just sat there in disbelief for a couple minutes without saying anything, and finally, I just kind of like I kept pushing every possible button. I kept trying everything, and finally, I think we just laughed because it was like, of course it would happen right then. Instead of happening on like level 2, it's going to happen on the final fight, the final part of the final part, boss. Anyway, that was a little gaming story for you. But.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever like, when it comes to like bosses and stuff, there's been some ones that have been like really tough. I can't think of one right now, but man,
that's actually a good topic. Hard bosses. I'm trying to think. All the Final Fantasy games, and including Kingdom Hearts, have tough ass bosses. Now, I've played so much Kingdom Hearts now that I know the proper way to grind through the game to where it's not that difficult at the end. But I remember 2 bosses in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bosses in the game that were difficult. You had to keep fighting them. But I can remember 2 in the original Kingdom Hearts. They're all near the end of the game, but one of them you have to fight this giant, basically gargoyle.
Right. Yeah.
And the only thing now, I kind of know the tactic now. You have to try to get behind his neck and cut at his neck.
Yeah.
The same way you fought Ursula.
Yeah.
And god damn, I died so many times as a kid. I died so many times trying to fight that boss, that at one point I just stopped playing the game for like a month. And then I came back to it and and tried it again.
Oh.
And then Ansem's really tough too.
Really? Okay.
He has like 4 fucking forms in the game. He's the final boss, and it's like you fight him on like this on Destiny Island sort of, and he's normal Ansem. And then, oh, you know what? No, I'm being an idiot. I totally forgot. Any fucking kid who played Kingdom Hearts as a kid will know this exact phrase by heart, which is you just hear a clank of keyblades, and you hear Sora go, "There's no way you're taking Kyrie's heart." And the reason you hear that a million fucking times is in the original PlayStation 2 game, you can't skip the cutscenes in Kingdom Hearts. And that battle with Riku in Hollow Bastion is one of the hardest bosses in the game. That was the one where you had to watch this long ass cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a 2 minute. It's not really that long, but it's like a 2 minute cutscene.
Right.
And every single time you hit retry, there is no retry. You just load your game back, and you have to run all the way over there, fight monsters, run back into the room, and listen to that cutscene over and over. So I know that whole cutscene by heart, basically, because I died so many times I had to listen to it 100 times.
Oh man, it's gonna be awful.
Anyway, do you have any tough bosses, Evan?
Dimix in Kingdom Hearts 2 was the toughest boss I ever fought.
Which one's Dimix?
He was the guy with the guitar that controlled water.
Oh yeah, that's kind of in Traverse Town or whatever, right? Like outside or wherever it is. It's Hollow Bastion, but it's like
yeah.
That
guy.
I remember that.
And I thought maybe it was just me because I'm a below average gamer when it comes to skill. So I thought, oh well, it's just my own incompetence. But then years later, I started seeing all these memes about it.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I'm not alone. Because that guy, Kingdom Hearts was one of the games that I was just completely determined to beat.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of games that I end up just not beating, and they end up on a shelf somewhere. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts was the one where I was like, I have to get to the end of the story. And yeah, Dimix was one that I took forever with. He was even harder, in my opinion, than the final boss. When you fight, is that Ansem again, or Zemnis? Was
Zemnis,
I believe?
yeah.
Yeah, when you fight the guy with the
Ansem's,
lightsabers.
Ansem's heartless, basically, or Ansem's nobody.
Yeah.
And we don't need to get into complicated video game storylines.
I mean, there's so many ridiculous things,
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous in a good way, but there's so much stuff, and I'm surprised they didn't have a character that was called a could have been. And if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, you get that joke. But
Yeah, I remember that. Well, they did add some kind of new thing in Kingdom Hearts 3. It was
and
pretty
almost,
close to it.
which is your parents didn't fuck that night, so you didn't get made.
Yeah. Damn.
Oh man, I think my first experience with, I don't know whether or not to call them real bosses, but would probably be Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think I really considered even playing Mario. The only time I considered those guys a boss is like near the end. Actually, it was at the very end when I had to defeat Bowser, and that was it. And it ended up being like pretty easy, but each of the castle runs I never considered it a boss, and I'm not sure why, but I'm guessing it just had to do with the way the game was laid out and the way I viewed it or whatever. But I can't remember, it's been so long since I played Crash Bandicoot, but I would probably say that's probably the first time I actually encountered something that I would view as a boss.
Yeah. It must have been the first time I knew about when I learned the term, or what I even knew a boss was.
Mm-hmm.
Was, I guess maybe it was Ocarina of Time, but Zelda, or bosses in Final Fantasy were so, such a trope of the series that was kind of a big deal at the time.
Really? Okay.
Well, not a big deal. It wasn't like a new thing, but it
Right.
was just that's when I learned the term.
Okay. Of what a boss
those
was. Okay.
Yeah, like what a boss was. It's like, okay, this is the difficult thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah,
the thing
so
that makes you throw your controller.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, did you guys have you guys ever raged out? I'm a lot
Yeah.
calmer nowadays, but as a kid, I definitely started cursing from gaming. I can tell you that for sure.
Really?
Because it was weird in my household, but it was almost like my mom had like a higher tolerance for cussing if you
Yeah.
did it at a video game.
Oh, okay.
Like, you would still kind of get in trouble. She would be like, but instead of like, you're in trouble, it was more like, hey, watch your mouth.
right.
But
Yeah.
for some reason, I remember when I first started cursing and noticed that my mom didn't care as much was when I'd be yelling at a video. Like, what the hell? This damn... It was just hell and damn. It wasn't like the F word or anything, but it's like, oh man, I just got away with saying hell and damn.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've raged out a couple of times, but I mean, you guys know I rage out in Halo, but I think that's something a little bit different than.
It's a little different. It's not. Have you ever broken a controller or anything like
No,
that?
No, I don't.
So
I'm not.
I broke a controller one time,
Oh really?
but there's a okay. I broke my brother had this pink Xbox or pink PlayStation 2 controller.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a really dope one, and it was just really cool. And he thought he was being funny by getting a pink one.
Right. Yeah.
But it was a really cool controller. It worked really well. It was like one of those pro controller type things, but it was PlayStation 2.
Mm-hmm.
I was using it and I was playing like Burnout or something. And I got pissed because I lost the race, and I got like pissed off, and I squeezed the controller and it just fell apart in my hands.
Oh.
And I was just looking at it like, oh shit, Michael is gonna kill me. That's my brother.
Oh my gosh.
So
yeah.
I carefully placed the controller back together,
Mm-hmm.
like put all the pieces so that it was like. It's weird too because it didn't like crack or break or make it sound like that. It literally just fell apart.
Right.
So I carefully put the controller back together so that he might think he broke it. And then my mom was watching TV in the living room, and I literally went like a dog, and she was like in this armchair,
Mm-hmm.
and I sat at the foot of the armchair.
Right.
You know, I was like, okay, I'm safe here because
Mm-hmm.
my brother can't physically harm me if my mom's right here.
Yeah.
My brother walks into the living room, doesn't say anything, walks up to me, gets down next to my ear, and like whispers into my ear like, I know you broke it. You're dead. Or something like that.
Oh man.
Now, I can't remember what happened. I think he just like chewed me out about it or something later.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, something. I don't think he beat me up. Years later, and I'm talking years later as in just a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
at some family event, I told that story.
Yeah.
And my I told that story, and my brother goes, oh yeah, I broke that controller. And I was like, what? And he goes, oh yeah, I broke it first, and I put it back together, and I pretended like you, and I thought it'd be funny to act like you were the one who broke it, so you'd be terrified. Yeah. So anyway.
Oh. I had thought, because I remember seeing that controller like in pieces, like it had been delicately put back together.
Yeah.
And I thought Michael had told you about that. Because I have this memory of him laughing and telling me that he broke it. So
well, he must have told you and not me, because I didn't know until years later.
maybe that was the case. But I just remember, like, that was why I was so confused years later when you brought it up. I was like, yeah, like he told me when I was at your house. But no, that's God, yeah, because I just had this image in my mind of this delicately put together controller, like sitting on that old TV stand,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just like, don't fucking touch it. So, oh God.
Yeah, that was.
Actually, no,
That
I think you played the same joke on me later. Because you told me to get the controller and it fell apart. And you were like, what the hell, dude?
Yeah, so I guess everyone had to go through that. It was like initiation for that controller.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what it was. It was probably him telling me that it was already broken. But no, it's just like... Oh.
Yeah, that was classic.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be interesting. We kind of talked. we could talk about gaming for hours. I think there's so many memories, but I thought it'd be interesting to talk about gaming now because it is a totally different thing for me now, generally. Yeah. So usually I only play games. Most of the time that I play games, a lot, as far as being into them, is playing with you guys during the week. We'll play Ark or something for a couple hours. Otherwise, I do not play games alone, like by myself, very often.
Right.
If a new game comes out, like I was playing Kingdom Hearts 3, and then before that, the last game that I really invested in before Kingdom Hearts was Red Dead 2. I played that for like about a month, and I like played a lot of it, put a lot of hours in.
Right.
But it's interesting because as a kid, it was like, especially when I had a new game, it was like I couldn't wait to get out of school. I would draw pictures and stuff of the characters from the games I wanted to play when I got off work.
Yes.
I couldn't even concentrate on work. I just couldn't wait to get home to play video games.
Uh-huh.
And when I would get home, I would just play as much as I could that my mom would let me.
Yeah.
And if it was a weekend or something, dude, I remember some weekends like waking up so that I could play video games all day. And I can't do that nowadays. Like if I play video games for too long, it hurts my head.
Right.
Like, there are some nights or something where we'll stay up and play pretty late, but generally I just don't have it in me to play for that long.
Right. Yeah.
But it was interesting what I would pull off as a kid, like playing games that much. It's crazy. But anyway, nowadays, I don't know what it is, but there's something about when you get older, your drive kind of goes down a little bit for gaming.
I don't know if it's just that too, but I know like it's got to be because of we're always busy and there's like
that's it. Yeah.
Sometimes more productive things to do.
That's true.
I mean, that's how I see it. I mean, I know there's Twitch streamers and they get paid to do that, and so that is their productive thing, and that's totally cool. But I know for a lot of other people that they don't have that that option to do that. So
yeah.
But I think that's.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say. Yeah, I think that's true. Like as an adult, you also have more fulfilling things to do.
Right. Yeah.
So video games can be stress relieving, and they're a good way to wind down. When you're a kid, it's instant gratification playing a video game, and you still have that. There's certain times like when Red Dead 2 came out where I couldn't wait to get off work to play.
Right.
But most of the time, you could be doing other things that are fun or interesting that are fulfilling. That are actually like read, like maybe it sounds lame, but like reading a book or something that you really enjoy and you feel like you're getting a lot out of. Or like I play guitar now, so a lot of times if I have free time, I like to like write music or something. It's like it's fun, but it's also something that's engaging and more fulfilling. So maybe that is true. As you get older, that's part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that. I don't know. I know that because we're busy, we have a harder time playing, and we probably, like you said, it's more it's not as fulfilling as doing other things. Because I know that some people can play so much, but missing out on the small things. We were talking about this the other day is I guess not something that you necessarily want to sacrifice for. We're going to play a video game because the video game will always be there, but those other moments in life will not be. So,
right,
yeah, but
I think it's kind of. I'll tell you one thing that's very interesting for me is I started reading Game Informer magazine when I was really young, so probably around 10 or 11. I saw it. I used to see it at the store, and it was the magazine I was really interested in. And I to this day go to
Mhm.
GameInformer.com constantly on my phone.
Yeah.
It's just the go-to website that I go to.
Right. Right. Right.
And the thing, and what's interesting I'd say about it is, even though I don't game as much, like right now especially, if you want to be really into gaming, you kind of have to be a PC gamer.
Mhm.
And the reason why is all the new stuff, like newer games that are really interesting coming out, like indie games and stuff, that new developers and stuff, is all PC because it's easier. You know, you don't have to optimize it, you don't have to sell it to Microsoft. Microsoft
Yeah.
doesn't have to approve it. You don't have to do it for consoles. And so I'm not a PC gamer just because of money. Like it's hard to afford gaming laptops and stuff, or I mean
Right.
gaming computers. Sorry. But I would say that that because of, even though I'm not as hardcore of a gamer as I used to be, I'm pretty much up to date with what's going on in the game industry because I read the magazine, and it's just weird because it's become
Yeah.
such a part of my life to read Game Informer. And it's like, even though I'm not a PC gamer, I'm like constantly reading the reviews of new games coming out and stuff.
Mhm.
So that's one way that I've always stayed in touch with it. I've always been interested. And I think for me, it's like, you know, I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, I was always really interested in. I was always very interested in when new graphics. It was all about, like, I remember that was all what it was. I was focused on
Yeah.
so much all the time. I was like, look at the new graphics.
Mhm.
And that was all you cared about. Like, you didn't real like, now obviously it's all about gameplay. Like, you realize like you want to have fun and the graphics aren't as important.
Right.
But there are still, I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 is pretty mind blowing
Mhm.
as far as the graphics. Like, it's pretty incredible, and the things you can do in the game and the intricacies. And then VR, like
You said VR.
VR, yeah, VR is definitely the future of gaming because it's interesting because technology comes about really fast, but also slow enough that you have time to take it for granted.
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid, all I wanted was, like, I'm like, man, I hope I live to be in the future to where I can use virtual reality, right?
Yeah.
And then now, you know, you can get an Oculus headset or a
Right.
Vive or something. It's like, this is virtual reality. This is pretty incredible stuff.
Mhm.
And so there is part of me that's always keeping up on the industry because I just want to see what developers are doing.
Right.
You know, I've always been interested in seeing how we can improve even in a technical way.
Yeah.
But I don't know, you guys seen these places? They have them in California, like at Disneyland and shit. But
Oh, like VR.
VR places, yeah, like warehouses. And I've seen some stuff in some of these games where it's like you have people. It's like I really think the future is like, people aren't going to be playing laser tag anymore. It's going to be these VR warehouses where you're going to be playing Halo real time. You know.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the future of gaming, and it's pretty much already happening. And you think about it, you're like, God damn, look at where we've gone in like 10 years. It's like, I no longer am afraid, like, oh, I'm going to die before really like in-depth virtual reality is a thing. It's like,
Yeah.
like, I know that we're going to be hitting some crazy places just in the next 10 years. So I definitely, you know, will have a chance to dive into that. So the game industry is kind of changing in that way, but it keeps me excited. So even though I don't game as much, I'm always pretty much into and excited about the future of games.
Yeah. Yeah. It does suck that we don't game as much, but it is, you know, it is pretty understandable. But yeah, the game
growing up, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is probably growing up, and it sucks. But I would say that I guess the things, now to look forward are the better games, the games with better graphics. And I know what were you talking about? Oblivion earlier. I noticed that we put Red Dead on this pedestal. But you said Oblivion came out with like all of that stuff first, basically?
Well, Morrowind.
Or Morrowind.
Morrowind's kind of the first one I saw, where it was like open world. You can go into every house. Everyone has their own house, and they kind of have their schedules and shit they're doing. But
okay.
Oblivion was the one that really made it work really well, and it was the one that was a little more like it was presented really well. The world felt really real, like people are really living in it. You know.
Okay, I got you. Wow. Well,
How long we've been going for a while, huh?
yeah, no, it's I think it's been about I think it's only been an hour, so it hasn't been for too long.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I kind of figured it would fly by because it's one of the. I feel like I was yapping most of the time, but that's kind of why I thought it would be a fun one to do because it's you know there's
Yeah.
such a long history of gaming, you know, and it's something where there's just so much shit going on.
Yeah, there is. There, I don't know. Like, I guess a good topic would be to get into because I know that
Yeah.
there's this theory that older games are like better for your brain.
Huh.
Yeah.
In what sense?
And
Older.
in the sense that they're as far as like Donkey Kong and like
Oh, okay.
Super Mario and stuff like
Yeah.
that, Pac-Man, all of that, because
Wow.
they require such precision. As far as like, have you seen all the records, right? For I hope you have, but you've seen all the records, right? For like the top scores and stuff, and people trying
Yeah.
to yeah. And
Yeah.
I feel like you don't get that as much with games such as like Red Dead, or even something like Halo or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'd like to look into some of those studies and stuff.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, I thought this one obviously was a little more centered around nostalgia, but
Yeah.
I definitely would like to hit it again. I think we could talk about the video game industry a little bit, but also we could talk about the uh, we could talk about things like that, like studies. I'd love to talk about studies on gaming,
Right.
video
Yeah.
game violence, and its ties to violence and gaming's ties to violence and stuff like that. There's a lot of bullshit that goes on with those arguments.
Yeah.
Gaming history generally. So it's just such a huge topic. Yeah, it'd definitely be something to hit on again.
Right. Yeah.
Although, yeah, we could probably wrap it up here if you want to. I think it's probably a good time to wrap it up. I think.
Okay. Yep.
But it's not really it's not like we're talking about a very serious topic. So closing statements. It's not like we have statements to make. So I would say let's end it by saying what our all-time favorite video games are,
Oh.
or at least a couple of them.
All right. I do a couple.
Zelda, Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. I know that's a class. I know. Like, look, I know it's cliche like, that people are gonna pick Zelda games, but Majora's Mask is just, to this day, is just a masterpiece to me of a game. Like, as far as storytelling, and it's darker and it's interesting elements to the game and all that. That's probably my favorite game of all time.
Oh, okay.
So, I could list more that are up there, but that's probably my favorite. Halo as a series is one of my favorite, probably my favorite series.
Okay, so your favorite series.
Yeah, and then Kingdom Hearts. I like Kingdom Hearts a lot. I don't know if that might be. I don't know. I don't know if I could. That would be up there with Majora's Mask. So, but anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so oh man. For me, it would probably have to be one of the Super Mario games. I'll just throw them all out there. As far as like Super Mario, on the 64, and then Super Mario on the Super Nintendo and the Game Boy Advance.
So those would probably be like some of my favorites. I enjoyed Glover. And
yes.
I really
on N64.
yes, I really liked
Yes.
Glover, and that's like that would be for me. And I think it's just because I haven't played it in a while. That would be for like the diamond in the rough, because I was looking for an emulator on that, but I couldn't find one, and I was
An
really
N64 emulator.
basically. I was trying to
But
find the ROM.
you mean a ROM for
Yeah,
that?
that's
Is
what I
that you're talking
meant.
about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a ROM
Yeah,
for
it might
that.
be hard. It's kind of a niche game.
Oh,
I
yeah.
actually have it.
Oh, really?
I actually have it on N64. Yeah.
Oh man, that's
So
probably
maybe we can hang out and bang out and play it a little bit.
yeah, that's probably really good. And then Halo. Halo would be
Of course.
yeah, Halo. It's really sad. Like I'm a PlayStation fanboy. It was my first system, but Halo's the one that got me over to the Xbox. I will
Yes,
have to be
and I think
absolutely
we
honest
bonded
about
over
that.
Halo more than anything else.
Yeah, we definitely have. That's the game we've most played, and the game we won't get rid of. It's taking up so much space on our Xbox, but yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I think soon we should all play through it.
Oh yeah. Oh
The
my
three of
god.
us should just go ahead and try to play through it. It's on Game
Legendary.
Pass. Like it'd be fun to just do Legendary. Yeah, the three of us.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we'd have to start at Halo 3 because that's the first one where they added 3 players. But
Okay. That'd be so awesome. Yeah. But anyway, what about you, Evan?
I'd say the games I poured the most hours to, and are probably going to be, Kingdom Hearts,
Mm-hmm.
the original Battlefront,
Yeah.
and I guess I'd probably go with Skyrim.
Oh yeah, Skyrim.
Yeah,
of course.
yeah. Those are 3 games I probably wasted more of my life on than any others.
I really need to play Skyrim.
You never played it?
I've played it once, and it is
Oh,
great.
it's great. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is a lot of fun.
It's fantastic.
I actually have it on. I have Skyrim Special Edition on my
Xbox?
on my PC,
Oh really?
but my computer couldn't run it.
Uh-huh.
So I have it like sitting there ready to play whenever I decide to upgrade my PC.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, oh man, yeah, there's so many games I really need to just get into and see what sink my teeth into. But
Yeah. Well, you want me to close this out real quick?
yeah, you can.
Anyway, I hope the episode wasn't too boring. I hope it was interesting and fun. Anyone listening, if you'd like to leave a comment wherever you see this, contact us. Let us know what's your favorite gaming memory, what topics you want to see us tackle in the future. And we will be. Whose turn is it next week?
It'll be my turn.
And what are we doing for the topic?
So we aren't doing a really a topic. It's just gonna be like an off the cuff kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All right, that'll be fun. That sounds great.
It will be because I'm mentally exhausted of doing all that other
I think
stuff.
that's probably why you've probably noticed the last several podcasts, if you're listening, have been a little more laid back. I think all of us have been a little burnt out mentally and maybe even physically. So we're trying to have a summer vacation as well, and that ends up being a little less research time and a little more goofing off. So anyway, thanks for listening. This has been Three's a Podcast with James, Evan Rada, and I'm Matt Pulaski, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you so much, man. I'll see you guys, and you can find us. We have all the links in the description below. Thanks.